Hey guys, it's the Mad Master here doing another video. Today we're going to talk about a very sensitive and controversial subject yet again. Of course, I hope to do a lot of videos about that, about sensitive and controversial subjects. And this time it's about Donald Trump yet again. And this one is about his supposed anti-Semitism. Now, I should begin by saying that a lot of people have accused him of being racist or anti-Semitic. One of the things that really, I wouldn't say bothers me, but befuddles me, I would say, is that I don't think he could be really an anti-Semite by the textbook definition, considering who's in his cabinet. Now, I'm not talking about Steve Bannon. I'm talking about Mnuchin and some of the foreign policy advisors that are very pro-Israel and very, as people would say, Zionist. I don't like to use that term, but that is what they would be accused of being. And also, a lot of the people are involved in Goldman Sachs, which is, a lot of these things are kind of mixed into these anti-Semitic ideas. Libertarians kind of cross over into that, or some of the conspiracy people cross over into borderline anti-Semitism. Let's not deny it. Even David Icke, who I kind of follow because I'm amused by his stuff. I wouldn't say he's an anti-Semite, but he kind of flirts with some of those ideas, about this grand cabal of Jews controlling everything, the banks and everything. And ironically, back in the 90s, Pat Buchanan, when he ran for president, he used a lot of the same stuff that Trump used in his candidacy, not election. He wasn't elected, but so is Donald Trump himself an anti-Semite? Well, his daughter is a convert to Judaism. His favorite daughter is, people always make fun of his whole thing with his daughter because he obviously has a lot of feelings for his daughter Ivanka. Now, and some of those may be inappropriate, whether or not you want to interpret that one way or the other, whatever. So is that would he be anti-Semitic that way? Well, I would say his son-in-law is also, his son-in-law is Jewish, and I guess by blood as well, and also his other son, actual son, married someone who was of Jewish descent as well. So you have this family that has, ironically, even though you could say that he courted anti-Semites in in his candidacy, he definitely is very much surrounded by people of the Jewish persuasion, whether or not it be in his cabinet or his own family. So I find it very strange that people actually don't or they disregard these facts when they discuss this stuff. Now, that does not mean that Steve Bannon is not a racist, or these policies are very much, his policies are racist as far as the Muslim ban and all that, from a certain point of view. Now, do I think that he used anti-Semitism in his candidacy with campaign ads and things like this tweet that that's below the title of the video? Yes, he did, definitely. I think it was very much a calculated campaign of division, much like the Southern strategy. His whole campaign was like the Southern strategy on steroids, reborn. So I think he very much did use anti-Semitism, racism, and xenophobia in his campaign, and that was a lot of electorate. Elect. I can't talk today. So I think he is. I personally think he might be somewhat racist, about, or he's at least elitist about people, you know. But I don't think he's really a racist by the definition of like David Duke, or someone that's actually like a white supremacist. Now Bannon's another story. I'm not really sure about Bannon. Bannon definitely believes in a somewhat of a white American ideal. So I think Bannon might be somewhat of a white supremacist. Now, is he an anti-Semite like his wife claimed he was, or whatever, in a divorce paper from 35 years ago or 30 years ago or whatever? I don't know. I don't know about that. I don't think he would be surrounded by, people that are Jewish if he hates Jews that much. So I'm not saying he's surrounded by them. I mean, there's a few members of the cabinet. It's not that they're surrounded by it, but overall they're very pro-Israel and very into that whole system. So an anti-Semitic conspiracy theorist, for example, would see this administration as even being more in the hands of the Zionists or whatever than even Obama in some ways. So that's one thing to consider when you talk about this subject. Now, there is a whole other subject regarding this that is pretty controversial, and I'm pretty interested in the idea, even though I don't know if I buy it. And that's of the idea that the Nazis used Zionism in their whole agenda, in their whole plot. So Len Brenner, who is a Trotskyite writer in the 80s, and he also wrote a sequel to the book in the 90s, wrote a book called Zionism in the Age of the Dictators, and it was about how a lot of the Nazi officials would collaborate with the Zionists that were trying to establish Israel. So, I mean, and all these political games and all these connections, people oversimplify things and say, oh, this person is this way, or this person believes in this. It's a very complicated thing. So in a way, things like the Nazis maybe collaborating or have some kind of deal with Zionists at one time in their whole history isn't really that far-fetched if you think about it. Does that mean that they didn't want to kill the Jews in Europe or all Jews everywhere? That's definitely not true. I mean, they could have still believed in all those things and just contradicted themselves in these different points. So it's the media and people wanting to oversimplify things that you want to say someone's either this or that, or one way or the other. So that's one thing to consider when questioning whether or not Trump is an anti-Semite or a racist or whatever. People are very hypercritical or full of contradictions. So that's my point in bringing that up. So I don't know if I buy into the theory that they were collaborating with the Zionists or whatever. It's an interesting book. I might check it out sometime. But anyway, so my conclusion is Trump an anti-Semite? Is he a racist? To a certain extent, his administration is racist. Whatever definition you want to use nowadays, because there's so many different definitions now. So as far as anti-Semitic, I don't think so. I don't see it. Now, that doesn't mean that he's not insensitive, when wanting to deny, like, what did he do the other day, or maybe a week ago? He didn't mention the Holocaust during some kind of memorial event or something. He does little things like that. I don't know if that's calculated or not. It's hard to say if it just slipped his mind or whatever. But a lot of the things are calculated. He wants to play to this alt-right part of his fan base, and they are anti-Semitic. So people that helped get him elected. So he definitely wants to play up to that. But the irony, as I said before, is that the Zionism in his quote unquote Zionism, pro-Israel people in his administration, finance the financial class being part of his administration that, they're not all Jews, but obviously, but, the a few, people of that mindset, as far as the racialist or anti-Semitic mindset, would say that they are, even the ones that are not. But so I mean, that's just a living contradiction to the idea that he's anti-Semitic. If he, has people in his family and people in his cabinet that are definitely of Jewish faith or of that descended from, as far as Semitic peoples. By the way, I am actually part Jewish. So in case there's any like neo-Nazis watching my channel, I don't give a fuck. Go ahead and watch it, but just keep in mind I am actually part Jewish. I actually am ascended from the Sephardic Jews in Spain, or where was it? I know they were in Ukraine after a while, but yeah, that part of my family is from that. So, and I'm plotting to take over the world and control all the resources and become part of the global elite one day. But anyways, that's not a long way off, but hopefully just a couple of years off. But anyways, if you enjoy this rambling video, please subscribe, and I'll be doing more videos.